"You're a paycheck, Ethan," Marissa said, not even looking up from her phone. "You're not my partner, you're the safety net. Learn the difference." She said it in our entryway, boots half on, ring light still in the corner like a piece of furniture. Outside the windows, Pittsburgh was gray and wet, the kind of late fall day that makes the bridges look like they're floating. Hey friends, please like this video and leave a comment with your impressions. This will be a great help. Thank you. We never tire of reminding you, it's all thanks to you. I didn't answer right away. I just stood there with my work bag still on my shoulder, feeling the words settle in the air like dust you can't unsee once the sunlight hits it. I'm Ethan. I was 41 when this happened. I work for the city as a municipal inspector. Permits, codes, compliance. It sounds boring until you realize most of life is people making promises and then arguing about what those promises really meant. My job is to keep it clean. Facts, dates, documents. No drama, no guessing. Marissa was 33. She called herself a content creator, but it was more like she was always building a small brand out of her own life. Workout videos in the morning, day in the life clips in the afternoon, dinners filmed from the right angle so the table looked more expensive than it was. She wasn't famous, but she was hungry for it. She chased attention like it was oxygen. We'd been together 2 years and 3 months. Not long, but long enough that we'd blended lives, or at least I thought we had. The place we lived in was mine, a condo in a renovated brick building near Lawrenceville. I bought it before I met her back when I was tired of paying rent and wanted something solid. The building was old on the outside and modern inside. Exposed brick in the hallways, thick beams, a lobby that always smelled faintly like coffee because somebody downstairs ran a little roastery. Marissa moved in after about 10 months, not because I asked her to, because it made sense, she said. She was always at my place anyway. Her lease was ending. Why keep paying 2 places when we were basically a couple? I liked her, I really did. She was lively. She brought color into my routine. I was the kind of guy who ate the same lunch 3 days in a row and considered it efficient. Marissa would drag me to a little market by the river and make me try pastries with names I couldn't pronounce. She'd laugh when I misread them. She'd take my hand on the sidewalk like she was proud to be seen with me. Hour before, life was simple. I left early. I'd cross the Allegheny on my way to inspections and watch the city wake up under low clouds. I'd come home around 6, sometimes later if I had a complicated job site. Marissa would be in the kitchen editing a video on her laptop, the ring light glowing like a tiny moon. We'd eat dinner at the counter. She'd detail me about her day and which post did well and which brand email she was waiting on. I'd tell her about a contractor trying to argue that a missing handrail was not a big deal. She'd roll her eyes and say, "People will say anything to avoid doing it right." Sometimes she'd say that about me too, in a teasing way. "You're so strict, Ethan," she'd laugh. "You would file a permit to hang a picture." I liked that she thought I was steady. I liked being the calm one. Then the pattern shifted. It didn't happen all at once. It was like a slow turn of the wheel, and suddenly you're not on the same road. Marissa started going out more at night. She called them creator meetups, little events at studios and pop-ups in fitness places. She'd get dressed like she was going on camera even if she said she wasn't filming. Hair done, makeup sharp, outfit planned. "Networking," she'd say, "this is how you grow." At first I didn't mind. People have hobbies, people have careers. I respected the hustle. I even helped sometimes. I built her a clean backdrop in the spare room. I mounted shelves properly. I ran cables neatly so she didn't trip. But then's networking began to eat everything. She'd come home late, smelling like perfume layered over cold night air. She'd talk fast, like she was still performing. She'd hold her phone up to show me a clip of her laughing with a group of people I didn't know. One night I asked, "When did you get home?" She blinked at me like the question was rude. "After midnight. Why?" "Because I woke up and you weren't here," I said. She shrugged. "I'm building something. You knew who you were dating." That line stuck with me, not because it was cruel, because it was dismissive, like my concerns were a silly tax on her ambition. Little signs started stacking. She stopped helping with bills without saying anything. At first she'd send me money for groceries, or she'd pick up a utility payment here and there. Then it became, "I'll get you next time," and then it became silence. She started calling my routines small. If I wanted to watch a game at home, she'd say, "You're fine sitting in your cave." If I wanted a quiet Sunday, she'd say, "You're wasting your life." If I asked her to tell me her plans, she'd say I was tracking her. If I asked her to come to my cousin's birthday dinner, she'd say, "Your family is intense and your vibe is heavy." That one stung more than I expected, not because I thought I was fun. I didn't need to be fun. I needed to be respected. The night everything snapped, it started with a normal problem, the kind my work brain understands. I got an email from our building manager, Renee, around 3:15 p.m. It went out to several owners on our floor. Subject line, lobby incident/guest policy reminder. The email was polite but firm. It said there had been a late-night disturbance in the lobby earlier that week, and residents were reminded that guests needed to be accompanied and that there was a no-loitering policy near the package area. Renee also wrote that security footage existed and that if any resident believed their unit was involved or had concerns, they could contact management for a formal review. That didn't sound like Marissa. She was loud online, but in real life she wasn't the type to pick fights with staff. Still, I didn't like my address in any message that included the word incident. When I got home, Marissa wasn't there. The condo was quiet except for the faint hum of her ring light, which she always left plugged in. I checked the hallway, half expecting a note or a missed delivery. Nothing. I made dinner, ate alone. That had become normal. Around 9, I heard keys. The door opened, and Marissa came in with a man I'd never seen before. He wasn't carrying anything. No bag, no coat draped over his arm like he was stopping by briefly. He walked in like he belonged there. Marissa froze when she saw me at the counter. "Hey," she said, too bright. "This is Drew. He's a photographer. We were shooting and I figured we could grab my tripod." Drew smiled at me like I was a coworker, not a boyfriend. "What's up, man?" I stood up slowly, calm, not threatening, just present. "Hi," I said. "I didn't know we had company." Marissa laughed like I'd made a joke. "Don't be weird. He's just helping me level up my content." I looked at Drew's hands. He wasn't holding a camera. He wasn't holding lighting gear. He was holding nothing. "Are you grabbing the tripod?" I asked, "or are you staying?" Marissa's eyes flashed. "Why are you acting like this?" "Because it's my home," I said, "and I'm standing in my kitchen with a stranger in it." Drew shifted his weight, suddenly a little less confident. "I can wait in the hall," he said. Marissa snapped, "No, you don't have to. Ethan is just intense." Intense, heavy, safe, words she used like labels. I didn't argue in front of him. That's not my style. I just nodded once and said, "Marissa, private conversation, now." She stared at me, then turned to Drew with a tight smile. "Give me 2 minutes." He hovered near the door like he wasn't sure if he should leave. Then he stepped out into the hallway, and I heard the soft click of the door closing behind him. Marissa folded her arms. "If you embarrass me, I swear." "I got an email from building management," I said, "about a lobby incident and security footage. Was that you too?" Her face changed, not into guilt, into annoyance. "Wow," she said, "so you're collecting evidence now." "I'm asking," I said. "Answer the question." She leaned back against the counter like she was getting ready to deliver a speech. "We were downstairs earlier this week. He walked me in. Some lady made a comment. It got awkward. Management is overreacting." "Some lady," I repeated, "or the building manager emailing multiple owners?" Marissa rolled her eyes. "You're so obsessed with rules." I felt something go cold in my chest, but my voice stayed even. "Are you sleeping with him?" She didn't deny it fast enough. That pause told me everything. Then she said, "It's not that simple." "It usually is," I said. She stepped closer, her tone shifting into something smooth and practiced. "Ethan, look at us. You're steady. You're safe. You're reliable. Drew is fun. He gets my world. I'm allowed to have both things in my life." I just stared. The words were different, but the meaning was clear. I was a resource. He was a thrill. "That's what you think adult relationships are," I said. She shrugged like she was teaching me. "That's what grown people do. They don't make everything into a tragedy." I nodded once. "Okay." That was it, one word. She blinked. "Okay." "Okay," I said again. "I hear you." She looked thrown off, like she'd expected me to yell, to beg, to argue my value, like she needed me emotional so she could call me the problem. Instead, I picked up my plate, rinsed it, and set it in the dishwasher. Marissa's voice sharpened. So what, you're just going to sulk? I'm going to think, I said. I'm going to sleep. He can leave. She scoffed. This is my life too. This is my home, I said calm. He leaves. She walked to the door and opened it with a dramatic swing. Drew, come back in. We're leaving. Drew stepped in, saw my face, and decided fast. It's cool, he mumbled. We can go. Marissa grabbed her coat and her phone like she was storming off for attention, and I let her. No chase, no pleading, just the quiet sound of the door closing. The condo felt different after that, not empty, cleaner, like a room after someone stops playing loud music. I sat at the counter and opened my notebook like I do at work. When something goes sideways, you don't rely on memory, you write it down. Date, time, what happened, who was present. Not for revenge, for clarity. In my job, people get loud when they don't have facts. I didn't want to be loud. I wanted to be done. The next morning, I called a local attorney's office, not to go after her, just to ask the basic question. What's the right way to have someone move out of your home when they're not on the deed and there's no lease? The receptionist didn't sound surprised. She booked me for a short consult. In the afternoon, I sat in a small office with a lawyer named Ms. Klein, who had the calm voice of someone who's heard every version of this is complicated. She asked, is she on the deed? No, I said. Any written lease? No. How long has she lived there? About 16 months. Ms. Klein nodded. Then you treat her as an occupant with tenant-like protections. You give written notice, reasonable time. 30 days is common, no changing locks, no tossing belongings. You keep communication in writing, and if she refuses, you follow the legal process. I didn't feel fear, I felt relief, a clear path. I went home and drafted a notice. Simple, clean, date at the top. Address, statement that her permission to occupy the home would end on a specific date 30 days out. Request that she remove her personal belongings by then. Offer of a scheduled pickup window if she wanted to collect things sooner. My signature, a copy for my records. Then I took photos of the condo, room by room, not artistic, functional, furniture, electronics, kitchen items, the closet, the spare room where her filming gear lived. I wrote an inventory of what was clearly mine and what was clearly hers. I also removed her as an authorized user on my credit card. It was my account. I'd added her months earlier when she said she needed it for groceries and would pay me back when a brand deal landed. She did sometimes. Then she stopped. I didn't cut her off to punish her. I cut off my liability. I saved the confirmation and emailed it to myself. I switched the auto payments I funded. Internet, streaming, delivery apps. I didn't cancel anything she needed for safety or basic life. I just moved my payment methods off shared services and onto accounts in my name only. If she wanted her own accounts, she could open them. That's adulthood too. I forwarded my mail and updated my address on key accounts. I changed passwords on the services I paid for, not to lock her out mid-show, but to stop the slow bleed of access after she moved out. Normal security, normal boundaries. Then I wrote one short email and sent it to her. Marissa, from today forward, communicate with me in writing only. Text or email. No late-night talks. No surprises. Ethan. 2 minutes later, my phone rang. Her name lit up the screen. I let it ring, then I let it go to voicemail. A text came in right after. So you're doing this now. You're acting like I'm some criminal. I replied with one sentence. Please check your email. The notice is attached. When she got home that night, she walked in like a thundercloud. Are you out of your mind? She said. 30 days. You can't just evict me because you're jealous. I kept my voice low. It's not jealousy, it's boundaries. She waved her phone. Drew is a collaborator. You brought him into my home, I said, at night, without asking, after admitting you want both lanes open. She snapped, because you're safe. That's not an insult, that's a compliment. It's not a compliment when it's used to excuse betrayal, I said. She stared at me, then laughed. Look at you, Mr. Paperwork, Mr. City Rules. You think you can file me out of your life? I can, I said, legally and calmly. Her face shifted into disbelief. You're really doing this? Yes, I said. Then came anger. It was fast and loud. She started listing everything she'd done for us. how she decorated the place, how she made it fun, how she brought me out of my shell. She pointed at the couch like she'd invented couches. I didn't argue, I didn't take the bait. I'm not debating your memories, I said. I'm ending the relationship. She stepped close enough that I could smell her perfume. You're going to regret this, she said. You're 41. You're not exactly a prize, Ethan. I nodded once, okay. That made her furious because okay is a wall. There's nothing to grab. She shifted into bargaining a few days later when she realized the notice wasn't a bluff. She came into the kitchen in the morning with a softer voice and a mug of coffee like she was trying to restore the old scene. I've been thinking, she said. We can fix this. I was stressed. I felt trapped. I didn't mean it the way it sounded. I looked at her. Which part? The safety net thing, she said quickly. That was harsh. You meant it, I said. You just don't like the consequences. Her eyes filled with tears, right on schedule. I'm sorry, okay? I'm sorry. I'll cut Drew off. I'll focus on us. Just don't throw me out. I'm not throwing you out, I said. I gave you notice. You have time. We can do this cleanly. She wiped her cheek and tried a new angle. Where am I supposed to go? You're an adult, I said. You'll figure it out. It wasn't cruelty. It was reality. I wasn't her father. I wasn't her bank. I wasn't her backup plan. Over the next week, I did the quiet work that doesn't look dramatic on camera, but changes your life. I updated my beneficiary forms at work and on my life insurance, not because I expected to drop dead, but because I wasn't going to leave my affairs tangled with someone who treated me like a utility bill. I cleaned out my personal documents and locked them in a small firebox: passport, social security card, deed paperwork, things that vanish in a breakup if you're careless. I also asked my brother Cal to be available on a Saturday morning for a supervised pickup window. Cal is older than me by 2 years and has the kind of calm face that says, I'm not here for conversation. He's good for situations where someone might try to turn logistics into theater. I texted Marissa a simple plan. Saturday 10 a.m. to noon. Cal will be present. You can pack and remove items you need. Please be respectful, Ethan. She replied with a long paragraph about how I was cold and controlling and afraid of strong women. I replied with one sentence: Saturday 10 to noon. The Saturday pickup was like watching someone act out a script they'd rehearsed in their head. Marissa started with disbelief again. She walked through the condo like she was touring a place she used to own. She touched the counter and said, I can't believe you're doing this to me. Cal stood near the doorway, hands in his pockets, neutral. Marissa tried anger. You're humiliating me having him here. It's a witness, I said, for both of us. She tried bargaining. If I leave for a week, will you calm down? If I give you space, will you stop this? I'm calm, I said. This continues. She tried the victim story. She sat on the couch and cried about how hard it is being a woman in a competitive world, how everyone expects her to be perfect, how I'm punishing her for having ambition. I didn't argue with tears. I didn't correct her emotions. I just stayed on the facts. You can take your clothes, I said, your filming equipment, your personal items. We'll sort anything disputed later through receipts. She stood up fast, tears gone like a switch. You think you're so righteous. I think I'm done, I said. Then came the final attempt, the one that's half insult and half hook. She stepped close, lowered her voice, and said, You know you're going to be lonely, right? You'll sit here with your rules and your little notebooks, and no one will want you. I looked at her and felt nothing but clarity. I'd rather be alone than be used, I said. That was the first time her face truly cracked. Not because I was mean, because I wasn't available. She packed fast after that, clothes into bags, shoes into boxes, makeup into a tote, tripods and lights and cords yanked out of drawers. She moved like she wanted me to chase her, to stop her, to say, Please don't go. I didn't move. When noon came, I said, Time. She stared at me like she couldn't believe I meant it. I'm not done, she snapped. You can schedule another pickup window, I said, in writing. She grabbed her coat and stormed out. Cal didn't react. He just waited until the door shut and then nodded once at me like, Good. That evening, my phone rang from a number I didn't recognize. I answered because it could have been work. A woman's voice came in hard. This is Marissa's mother. I almost laughed at the speed. Flying monkeys don't waste time. She didn't introduce herself beyond that. She didn't ask questions. She went straight to orders. You need to be a man, she said. You don't kick a woman out over hurt feelings. You talk, you fix it. I gave written notice, I said calmly. This isn't a fight, it's a separation. You're punishing her, she snapped. She's a good girl. She's just figuring herself out. She can figure herself out somewhere else, I said. Her voice rose. Do you know what people will think of you? I paused, then answered honestly, I don't care. Silence on the line, then she hissed, You're cold. I'm finished, I said. Please don't call me again. I hung up and blocked the number. No lecture, no explanation, boundary, done. The last 2 weeks were tense, but they were controlled because everything was in writing. Marissa tried to push for extra time. I said no. She tried to argue that she helped with the place and deserved compensation. I asked for receipts. She had none. She tried to claim she bought furniture. I showed the purchase confirmations from my account. Quiet facts. She scheduled one more pickup window. Cal came again. She took the rest of her things. She tried to provoke conversation. I stayed on logistics. On her final day, I printed a simple acknowledgement form. It stated that she'd removed her personal belongings to her satisfaction and returned her keys and garage fob. It wasn't a court document. It was a clean record. She stared at it like it was an insult. Seriously, paperwork. Yes, I said, sign and we're done. She scoffed, but she signed. She was always willing to sign something if she thought it made her look like the bigger person. She handed over the keys. Then she stood there, searching my face one last time. You're really not going to say anything, she asked, voice quieter than I'd heard in months. I've said what I needed to say, I answered. She nodded slowly, like she was trying to memorize the moment for a future story she'd tell her followers. Then she left. When the door closed, I didn't feel victorious. I felt peaceful, like a long, low noise had finally stopped. That night I walked down to the river and watched the city lights shimmer on the water. The bridges looked steadier than they had in weeks. I stood there with my hands in my pockets and let my mind be quiet. Life got better in small ways. I woke up without checking if someone had come home yet. I cooked without waiting for a reaction. I left my phone on the counter and didn't feel the need to watch it. I repainted the spare room and turned it into a real office instead of a studio set. I fixed the little things I'd ignored while trying to keep Marissa happy. The loose hinge, the scuffed baseboard, the cluttered closet. At work I felt sharper, not because heartbreak makes you stronger, because chaos makes you tired, and I finally wasn't tired. A few months later, in early spring, I went to the Carnegie Library on a Saturday morning. It was one of those Pittsburgh days where the sun shows up like a surprise and people act like they've been released from prison. The sidewalks were busy. The city had that feeling of waking back up. I grabbed a couple of books and stood in line at the checkout desk. The place was quiet in the best way, just soft voices and pages turning. That's where I saw her. Marissa stood near the hold shelf, hair pulled back, no ring light, no performance. She looked around like she didn't know where to put her hands. When she noticed me, her face did that familiar shift. First surprise, then calculation, then a smile she probably practiced. Ethan, she said softly. I nodded, Marissa. She stepped closer, keeping her voice low like we were sharing a secret. I didn't expect to see you. I come here sometimes, I said. She glanced down at my books, then back up. You look good. So do you, I said, because politeness costs nothing. Her eyes flicked around like she wanted an audience and realized the library wasn't built for that. I've been wanting to talk, she said. I kept my tone calm. I'm not interested in revisiting things. Her smile trembled. I know I messed up. I was in a weird place. I was trying to become someone, and you were just there being solid, and it made me feel trapped. I watched her the same way I watch someone explain why they ignored a stop work order. Lots of words, no accountability. I wasn't trapping you, I said. I was building with you. She swallowed. Drew was a mistake. I didn't ask where Drew was now. I didn't ask if she was lonely. Those answers wouldn't change anything. I hope you're okay, I said. That's all I can offer. She looked at me like she wanted anger, because anger can be argued with. Polite distance is harder. So you're really done, she said. Yes, I said. She nodded slowly, then she tried one last hook, quieter than the others. Do you ever miss me? I didn't hesitate. I miss who I thought you were. Her eyes filled, and for a second she looked like a person, not a brand. Then she blinked it away and forced a smile. Well, she said, take care. You too, I said. When it was my turn at the desk, I checked out my books, thanked the librarian, and walked out into the sunlight. I sat in my car for a minute and listened to the quiet, the honest kind, the kind that doesn't demand anything. That's what I learned, not that love is rare, not that people can't change, but that respect is the part you can't fake forever. When it's missing, the relationship doesn't explode. It leaks, slowly, day by day, until you're standing in your own home wondering why you feel so small. I didn't stay small, I just stopped participating. Thanks for watching. What would you have done in my place? Tell me in the comments.